Just what the internet needs. Another nerdy guy online talking about Pokemon cards. What are the odds? Okay, so I want to compare some of the similarities and differences between the last hype cycle we had versus the current hype cycle. Because there are a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of different variables in there as well. So I started collecting again in early 2020, just buying some old singles off of eBay. Some cards I used to have when I was a kid. And then I started going to stores and restocks in late 2020, about the time Vivid Voltage came out. So I remember I started going to stores, checking them a couple times a week. I specifically remember when Champion's Path came out, there were some targets I would go check and there'd be 30, 40 ETBs on the shelf. I would grab one or two and then I'd check it the next day and it was completely wiped. But I knew it was getting completely wiped after a couple hours of me being there. Because I remember I'd show up, the vendor would be finishing up, and there'd be other people standing around. I remember seeing business guys there in their suits on the phone, calling someone asking if they should scoop everything up. And so at the time, Champion's Path was Charizard. There was a lot of Charizard hype at the time. People were buying a lot of base set Charizards too on the secondary market, and the prices on those just went berserk. Even the McDonald's promo that year. The McDonald's promos that year were for the 25th anniversary, but even those were getting eaten up. Like I remember seeing videos of people calling their local McDonald's and asking if they could just buy out their entire stock, and some of the managers would let them. But I even remember going to McDonald's. I bought, I don't know, like 3 Happy Meals, something like that. Because at the time, everything was barren. Like Pokemon was not yet adjusted to printing as much as they are now to meet that demand. So anywhere you could find stuff, even if it was at McDonald's getting cards, that's what people were doing. And then Shining Fates came out, and that's when things really got ramped up. So interesting thing about Shining Fates, everyone likes to shit on Shining Fates now, saying how terrible of a set it is. But I went back and watched PokeRev's first live stream he did opening Shining Fates when it first came out. Shining Fates at the time was the coolest thing we had in modern Pokemon. You had the baby shinies, the full art shinies coming back from Hidden Fates. You also had the amazing rares. And then on top of that, you also had fantastic pull rates. Like you'd get a hit in every other pack. I remember watching a video of Twice Baked Jake opening one of those 7-pack tins. I don't know why they don't put 7 packs in those tins anymore. They only put like 5. But for Shining Fates, they put 7 packs in those tins. And he got a hit out of every single pack out of that one tin. So the pack opening experience was fantastic. It was super fun, but that, along with the massive reprint, pretty much annihilated the value of anything Shining Fates related. Because along with all the shinies and amazing rares, you also had the shiny Charizard, which had a ton of hype around it at the time. Because you had the VMAX Charizard from Darkness Ablaze, then you had the Rainbow Charizard VMAX from Champion's Path, and then we had the shiny Charizard VMAX from Shining Fates. And another interesting thing about Shining Fates is the pre-sales for that started out around $150 a box, very similar to Prismatic Evolutions. But by the time it got released on the secondary market, it had come down to around $100 in ETB. And that was around the time that Pokemon put out the same statement they just put out, saying that they see the demand and that they're going to print to max capacity. And it was around that time as well that Pokemon reprinted Hidden Fates. They came out with the Evolutions Kanto Power Collection boxes, along with a massive wave of Shining Fates and Vivid Voltage and Darkness Ablaze. So we got a huge wave of stock for all of that around that time, early 2021. And that was around the time that Walmart also started putting their stock behind customer service, because similar to all the Costco fiascos happening now, the restocks were just getting out of hand, or people were coming in and just wiping the shelves. So I'm pretty sure every Walmart in my local area stocked everything behind customer service and then limited everyone to 2 items. But the other thing about that was sports cards were also super hyped at the time. So you had Pokemon selling out and sports cards selling out. And at the beginning of everything, sports cards were actually more hyped than a lot of the Pokemon stuff. So you had a bunch of people going to these restocks. A lot of them were sports guys. They'd grab their sports stuff and then they'd grab 1 or 2 Pokemon items, whatever was hot at the time. But the sports card market's kind of dead right now. Like obviously a lot of the football cards still get eaten up eventually, but a lot of that has to do with the increase in MSRP. So at Walmart's Pokemon products have gone up around 10% from the previous MSRP. So if you'd buy a collection box for $20 normally, it's $22 now. For sports cards, you used to be able to buy a blaster box for $20. And now they're averaging around 35, 40 bucks. So sports cards MSRP have gone up around 80%, while Pokemon has only gone up around 10%. But a lot of people don't want to pay $35, $40 for a blaster box and $60 for a mega box before tax, when they used to be almost half that price a few years ago. I mean, it also depends on the product and what you can pull, of course. But still, I can go to my local Walmart and buy high-end NBA sports cards, whatever the high-end set is. Like recently it's been Mosaic. Like I've been seeing Mosaic basketball blasters on the shelf just sitting there almost every week for the past month or two. So eventually Walmart stopped limiting everything behind customer service and just started stocking everything back in the normal shelves. And that started happening more around mid-late 2021. There is still one local Walmart near me that has a glass case that they just stock all the card stuff in. So if you want anything, you have to go get someone and have them unlock it for you. And Target's way of going about that was still stocking everything on the normal shelves. They just, in the system, won't let you buy more than 2 card products per day. So if you try to check out and you're buying 3 of something at self-checkout, it wouldn't process your order. So I don't know if we're on the verge of Walmart's and Target's having to go back to that, because currently there's not an issue with retail sports cards, but you have a lot of people that would collect retail sports cards that are now just focusing on Pokemon. So it'll be interesting to see if in the next month or two Walmarts and Targets go back to limiting everything. I think they will, because GameStop already put out a statement saying that they're going to limit at least Prismatic Evolutions. But what happened with Shining Fates is it was super hyped right out the gate. They just printed it into the ground and prices just plummeted. There's a lot of people that think Prismatic Evolutions is going to stay really expensive. But Prismatic Evolutions is not fun to open from what I've seen from other people. Like, the pull rates are terrible. And I think part of that reason is due to the God packs and the demigod packs. So if you have God packs where you can pull whatever it is, 8 SIRs in one pack, and then the demigod packs where you can pull 3 SIRs in one pack, I think you've now condensed the pull rates with those God packs, because instead of getting an SIR in every couple hundred packs or whatever the normal pull rate would be, now you're getting multiple SIRs in one pack, which we haven't really seen in English before. I believe they had the demigod packs in English 151, but I think that might be why the pull rates are so brutal. So that's one big difference between Shining Fates and Prismatic Evolutions. There's a lot of initial hype, not enough stock on the first print wave. But Prismatic Evolutions is not that fun to open, where Shining Fates was super fun to open. And this is all complete speculation on my part. I'm just kind of guessing from my perspective. With them getting rid of the illustration rares and replacing them with reverse hollows and Master Ball hollows, I don't think the reverse hollow Pokeballs and Master Balls are going to maintain that much hype realistically, because I just think they don't look nearly as cool as the illustration rares. I'd much rather open a set and get a full, complete set of illustration rares as opposed to the Master Ball set. It just seems like another gimmick similar to the Amazing Rares, because the Amazing Rares were also extremely hyped when they first came out, and now they're extremely affordable and no one's really talking about them at all. So it's the first English set with Master Ball reverse hollows. I guess that's cool, but I personally don't really care for those at all. I think the Pokemon Company will absolutely print the set into the ground. I'm sure it will still meet demand, but Surging Sparks and Prismatic Evolutions being the 2 most recent sets, I think are due for massive reprints. Because what happened before was there was a lot of hype around Darkness Ablaze because it was a Charizard set. Then Vivid Voltage, the Rainbow Pikachu, that was cool at the time, and the Amazing Rares. Then Shining Fates. And then Battle Styles was the first main set that came out after Shining Fates. And then Chilling Reign. Pokemon printed an insane amount of all those sets. There was a massive first wave print run for Battle Styles and Chilling Reign. And the hype had kind of died down a little bit around the time that Battle Styles came out, because no one was hyped for Battle Styles at all. It was an Urshifu set, and Urshifu was a newer Pokemon, and no one really cared for Urshifu. Even though I think Urshifu is way cooler than a Teal Mask Ogerpon, right? And then Battle Styles wasn't that fun to open too, because they got rid of the Amazing Rares, and it had terrible pull rates. So people were talking shit about Battle Styles, but still buying it up at the same time. And then same thing with Chilling Reign. People were not that hyped about Chilling Reign when it first came out, but some people were still eating it up just because they wanted Pokemon cards, and those were the 2 recent sets they had printed the most of that were readily available. And then Chilling Reign also had terrible pull rates, hence the term Chilling Pain. You know, so battle styles and then kind of Chilling Reign leveled out the hype a little bit. And I think that's what Pokemon needs to do after the Rocket set. Like, we have Journey Together. I think that's going to be super hyped. We have the Rocket set. Pretty sure that's going to be super hyped. I think after that, Pokemon needs to put out a set of just Ogerpons. A strictly Ogerpon set. Put out a giant set with only 12 SIRs, 24 illustration rares, and have them all be Ogerpons. And then print the shit out of that and then distribute that out to people. And then you can throw in all the other Pokemon people talk shit about in that set. You can throw in a bunch of Whimsicots, a bunch of Mr. Mimes, a bunch of Trevenants. You know, throw all those Pokemon into one set and then print the crap out of that. And I think that'll help level things out a little bit. So personally, I'm not worried about Prismatic Evolutions at all right now. I've been going to restocks every week or every other week since late 2020. And I don't always buy stuff. Sometimes it's just to see what they have, just from an interest perspective. Because Shining Fates was available at every Walmart restock on shelves every single week for 2 years after it was released. But the thing about Shining Fates is it was a shiny set. They had Eevee on the box, and the promo card was an Eevee VMAX. And I think there was a shiny Eevee in that set, but there were no evolutions in Shining Fates. They saved all the evolutions for Evolving Skies. So I think Prismatic Evolutions is more similar to Evolving Skies than Shining Fates. Because Evolving Skies also has pretty terrible pull rates, similar to Prismatic Evolutions, and then all the chase cards are evolutions, of course. And Evolving Skies was hyped, but it was not nearly as hyped as Prismatic Evolutions. So it'll be interesting to see how much the Pokemon Company is actually able to print for this set. But if history repeats itself, Prismatic Evolution should be available at every single restock once the reprint comes for the next 2 years or so. I don't see why it wouldn't. I'm sure it'll still get eaten up pretty quickly for the first 6 months or so. And I don't know if it's ever necessarily going to hit MSRP on the secondary market. I think it will drop significantly from where it's at now. But since I check a couple restocks every single week, I'm very sure I'll be able to find Prismatic Evolutions in stores eventually. It might take 2 months, it might take 6 months, but I know eventually I'll be able to find some. So I'm not worried about that right now at all. And I know there's some people out there that can't go to restocks in their area wherever they live, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna have more restocks of this at online stores as well. So I have no problems being patient with this. Everyone's freaking out about Prismatic Evolutions and all the Pokemon 151 at the Costco restocks. They should have limits on this stuff like Walmart and Target did, which maybe they'll do eventually. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens in the next few weeks or month. I was able to order a couple Pokemon Center ETBs that came in the other day, and then I ordered a couple of surprise boxes on the Pokemon Center website. Those are currently the only Prismatic Evolutions products that I have, and I'm definitely not opening any modern sets at $15, $20, $25 a pack. But yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of similar things happen where Pokemon does print to demand. I want to say last year they printed 12 billion cards, so it'll be interesting to see if they can pump that up to like 15, 16, 18 billion cards in a year. And then if that's even enough to meet demand. Because the other thing on top of all of these live streamers now opening tons of packs every day for people, it's easier for people to indulge in their short-term pleasures now than ever before. So anyone can go online and find some streamer opening packs, whether it's Whatnot, YouTube, Drip, and buy packs from someone and watch them get opened pretty much any day of the week at this point. On top of that, you also have sports gambling is a huge thing now. Like, there's people now betting on sports every single week, some every single day, that wouldn't have even thought about doing that 10 years ago. It's somewhat similar with Pokemon, where opening packs, you are gambling to a degree, but that's more accessible now than ever before. I think that's another big thing that's affecting the market as well. And then on top of that, a lot more people are investing as well because there's so much content about this online. Like, I've been watching Prismatic Evolutions content for the past 6 weeks straight, and the set just came out, and it feels like it's been out for well over a month now, just from everyone talking and speculating about it before the sets even come out. They just announced a reprint. We don't even have that reprint yet. I don't see why we wouldn't get 2 or 3 more massive reprints for Prismatic Evolutions and Surging Sparks. I'm pretty sure there were at least 4 print waves for Evolving Skies. And I think Prismatic had a decent sized print wave, but when you have a ton of people that want the product that didn't really want most of the other Scarlet and Violet sets, I think that's a big thing that drove the hype for that as well. Because last hype cycle, it was all Charizard and Pikachu. Now there's still a Chase Pikachu card in Surging Sparks, and Prismatic Evolutions has one. But the main chase card everyone is going after is that Umbreon. All the evolutions have completely taken over Charizard at this point. So yeah, some of the circumstances about the hype cycles have changed, but the human psychology and how people react to this is exactly the same. But if history repeats itself, Prismatic Evolutions should be showing up in most stores for at least the next 2 years. And again, I'm just completely speculating on all this, so it'll be interesting to see how everything plays out throughout this year and how much Pokemon's actually able to print. I'm going to be making a series of prediction videos every week starting next month. It'll be interesting to track that throughout the year as well. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, if you could like and subscribe, that would be awesome. Also, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave those down below, and I will see you in the next one.